Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Barb Shones, and I'm the Assistant Academic Coordinator for 511 and also an instructor, although, as you know, I might not be your instructor. Today, I'd like to take a few minutes and talk with you about the review and analysis papers and what kinds of thinking and thought processes you will need to be successful with that, and also about the organization. You'll see on the screen as well that I have an example that we'll go through in a few minutes. I sent out a newsletter or addition to a newsletter about the thought processes and critical analysis that are required for success in not only the review and analysis papers, but also for the lit review for your final project and the lit review sections in all the other research courses that you'll take. That's why this course is a prerequisite to that. So it's really important that you learn those skills now. The first thing to remember is that as you write these papers, you are not doing a book report and you're not doing a research paper. You're doing an analysis, which is very different. The thought process is very different. For example, as you have seen in some of the coaching and some of the information at the top of the course, when you read these articles, your thinking needs to be, what is this author saying? What topics is he talking about? What are his recommendations? What evidence does he supply? Then as you read another author, you're going to ask the same questions. But then the important part is that you're going to start comparing and contrasting them. So remember the old Venn diagram? You have two circles, they connect or they intersect in the middle. So for author one, for example, you're going to list the things and the topics that are in that source. You're going to look at author two, do the same things. Then you're going to go through, and if there's a third author, draw another circle. But then where they intersect is where you're going to note they all talked about this topic. They all shared the belief that maybe you're talking about class size. Maybe you'll find they all shared the belief that class size isn't as important as some other teaching strategies. Just making that up, not saying that you will find that. Point being, the piece that's in the middle where they intersect is where you write down the similarities between all the sources. Obviously, then, the parts that are in the non-intersecting piece, that's where they differ. And that's how you do that analysis. So when it comes then to writing the position paper or the position section where you have to decide what your position is using your dialectic thinking, you're gonna look at both both sides or all three sides. You're gonna say, yeah, these all agreed, but I also feel that this author had another point that was valid, evidence was strong, so I'm going to make that part of my position. And then you'll start researching sources that can support or defend your position. That's the thought part of it. The organization part of it then is listed or indicated on the rubric. So if I were you, I would download the rubric for the review and analysis paper. It gives you the sections in order and the components within each section that need to be there. As you're writing the review and analysis section, what you don't want to do is say, author one said this, and then have 2 or 3 paragraphs devoted to that author. Author two said this. That's a book report, folks. That's just a report, which tells you nothing. What you need to do is demonstrate your critical thinking and comparison and analysis of the 3 sources, or 20 for your final paper. Not that all 20 will be in the lit review section. They may not. But you're going to decide what are the topics that they all discuss. So let me show you a paper where the writer did that. I'm going to see if I can move this over just a little bit for us. So this student's topic was talented and gifted education programming options. And that falls under one of the issue topics that we've discovered. Now, you don't have to take an issue verbatim and just rehash what was said. Find topics that are important to you, issues that are important to you that relate to that. For example, this student works with talented and gifted students and is concerned about the programming. So it could fall under Common Core, it could fall under diversity. There are other sections where this would be a very appropriate topic, but it matters to her. So that's what your job is. Don't just pick a topic to get the paper done. Pick a topic that matters to you. To her, this is important because she wants to provide the very, very best instruction for her students. So the first section, of course, is going to be the introduction. Now, in the introduction, the rubric tells you you need to introduce the issue, tell why it's an issue, and then have a specific purpose for doing the analysis. So notice here that she has an introduction sentence, but then she uses references, several different author references, to help build the issue so that we understand what that is. Now, this particular student has a lengthier introduction. I'm not expecting that you have one this long. The important thing is that you set up that issue and you clearly establish why that's an issue. So she's used several authors to support the fact that this is an issue. And I want you to look at her last sentence, her purpose. The purpose of this analysis is to determine. That is a good purpose. You're not doing this just to review it. That gets you nowhere. You want to decide, determine, discover, answer. Think about synonyms for the word purpose or determine or decide. And use those in your purpose statement that clearly sets out the reason that you're doing this report, this analysis. Then her next section, notice she labels Lit Review. Now, which would be the review and analysis section actually. So, pull out programs and cluster grouping. That is a title. That's a topic, I mean. That's a topic she found among the sources. She goes on not to discuss just one source, but several sources in her paper. So in your first paragraph, for example, if you have 3 sources, this was a longer paper. And actually this was for a final project. But my point is, it holds true for review and analysis papers as well. You're going to set up the review and analysis section. So this would be called review and analysis. The point is, don't discuss just one of the authors and then go on in the next paragraph to discuss the other. Go by topics. So her topics, her first topic happened to be pull-out programs and cluster grouping. Her next topic was benefits of cluster grouping, raise achievement for all, concerns and common misconceptions. And she goes on and talks about multiple authors under each one of these topics. That is your goal, because that shows you've analyzed them, you've compared them, contrasted them, and in your Venn circles, if you will, get that vision in your head, what's in the middle? What topics do they all talk about? They may not call them exactly the same things. That's where your analysis comes from. So use your rubric to show you the various sections that need to be in the paper, and then organize your paper by that. So she labeled, okay, conclusion is labeled, and her proposal, or that would be your position, or your reflection. Label those so you separate them out, and then make sure that the components within each match the elements in the rubric. But the most important thing that I want you to remember is that as you need a specific purpose, and that purpose is not to explore, review. That doesn't get you to the dialectic thinking and decision making. That's just a book report. You need to decide something, determine something, answer something, discover, so that then you could use your research to move on to make a meaningful new thesis that you could say to your principal or your school teams, I've done the research on this. It won't be, even with your final paper, it won't be extensive, but 20 sources is more than the 2 or 3 that you'll be doing in the few papers in the course. And you can make a meaningful proposal that you know you have validated through the research and that you've carefully considered all of the other options. So that's the purpose of these papers. So I wanted to show you this so that you're comfortable with how to organize it and what it would look like. Now remember, there's an APA link on the right-hand side of your paper, which takes you to an excellent online guide for meeting APA standards. And in this course, you're going to want to use the professional APA cover page running head format. Make sure that you do that. And then you can also refer to that link for knowing how to cite sources within your text. And we expect that you will do that because you're going to need to do that for your future research courses. Also remember, if you use someone else's words, you must quote and you must give the citation. Paraphrase whenever possible. And if you use a quote now and then, it's okay in this course. Some professors do not allow any. And I would strongly suggest that you avoid overuse of quotes. So keep that in mind as well. I hope that this review, short though it is, helps you to see how to organize the paper and what kind of thinking and problem solving and analysis needs to happen before you even put your pen to the paper. So as the upcoming review and analysis paper is due, refer back to this if you need to, but now you have an idea of what that looks like and how to conduct your analysis. I wish you the best.